semifinals begin tonight and continue tomorrow.
Sound Off on Get Up is where interesting people say interesting things. Yesterday, two of my favorite Dans, Patrick and Orlovsky, had a fascinating conversation about who the best quarterback in this draft class should be. Listen.
If Arch Manning was in this year's draft, number one overall.
Not even close. Not even close. Not even close. He'd be the runaway number one pick.
Orlovsky, will you please expand on that thought?
The pick would already be made. The Las Vegas Raiders would have no chance of passing on him. They would have to make the pick. One, he's 6'4", 225 pounds. He's an unbelievable athlete. I think in the Michigan game, he ran at like 21 miles per hour, which is absurd. He's only gotten better. He's very strong-armed. He's unbelievably athletic. He's really smart. He's getting trained the right way. He's wired the right way. He's been knocked down and picked himself back up. I think he's an ultra-competitive young man. It would not even be close. He would already be selected as the number one pick.
Jordan Rodgers.
Dan, I agree with so much of what you said, and I got labeled as an Arch hater because at the beginning of the year I said, hey, let's just let this guy develop. Let's not crown him before he's ready, and he got where I thought he would. My question would be this, because I agree, between the ears, I think he is elite. Athleticism, can make plays. You saw it, elite. The arm talent, I don't think it's elite. I don't think his arm is super strong. I don't think he spins it super consistently. I think still there's 3 or 4 throws a game that kind of get away from him.
Yep.
And so, Dan, those are the throws that I go, I worry not that he can be a starter in the NFL and have a career. Can he be a guy that can change the game at that level, that can elevate the play of everyone around him, not just with his legs, but with pure arm talent? Where do you stand on that? Because the arm is the only thing that I go, I think I still need to see more consistency, one more year of some of those throws that get away from him.
Yeah, I think that's why he's going back to school. I think he and his family prioritize development. We saw that this year. I totally agree with you, Jordan, but I saw the growth in that. And I would also say this. Texas wasn't very talented on the perimeter this year. I don't think they were very talented up front. And so, I think a lot of that is he was elevating a relatively average group.
Taylor, they had a million 5-star wide receivers on the bench as well.
The best receiver just transferred to Oklahoma.
Listen, I have a lot of respect for Arch Manning, the family, everything. He did not exceed expectations. He did not meet expectations this year. He needs another year to develop and get everything done. You bring up him stuffing Michigan's defense in the bowl game. In reality, it's like it's a bowl game. You have opt-outs. And the bowl games don't matter anymore compared to
his last 6 weeks were very good football.
Solid.
Yes. Let me throw the only thing that usually doesn't belong in a conversation like this, and that is a reasonable response, which is both things can be true. He would be the number one pick in this draft, but he is also best served by going back, spending another year, working on the stuff that Jordan is talking about, doing the stuff that Dan is talking about, and will unquestionably be the number one pick. The potential and the name tell you he would be number one this year, but that doesn't mean he is still doing the right thing by going back.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the thought of him going back and playing another year in college football. I don't have a dog in the fight when it comes to draft picks, who's slotted to be the best, who's the runaway guy. I like the lower body stature. I love a good quadricep. I love a good calf. He's got them both. I like some Arch Manning.
He's a monster.
All right, I want to get to the other sound off here, though, quickly, though, Jordan, because there's one that I really want you guys to comment on. And again, we played this yesterday, but I want to hear this group. Our buddy Rich Eisen doing his show the other day, thinking about the Raiders having the first pick in the draft, and he allowed his mind to wander here.
If I'm Mark Davis,
50-50.
The first person I call, and I understand this would be out of the ordinary, and I understand I might be stirring something up that doesn't exist, but I want to find out. I find out the phone number of Curt Cignetti, and I call him up, and I say, listen, I don't mean to disturb you. That's the first way I would say.
Excuse me, sir.
But I've Googled you. I have Googled your work.
I've done this, you asked.
Google me. I don't know if you're aware, but we hold the first overall pick in the draft.
Really?
And you've got a Heisman Mendoza quarterback that we're kind of interested in.
The Daily Double.
Rich, no.
The Daily Double. Cignetti and Mendoza to the Raiders. What do you think? Compton.
I hate it. I hate the thought of that. I feel like Cignetti in his age, I'm not saying like he's old, he doesn't want to do anymore, but in my brain, he just got paid $1 billion to stay at Indiana. He can be at this place for the rest of the time and become an absolute legend in college football. Why would he want to go to the NFL and go to an organization like the Raiders historically, where you don't even know how much time you might get, all because your quarterback might be drafted #1 overall? It doesn't make sense to me. Not everything that glitters is gold, and I feel like what would you be chasing if you're trying to go to the NFL, and especially starting at an organization who's got the first overall pick?
He's 64 years old, by the way.
I just think the only reason why this would make sense is because the logo we're looking at with the first overall pick and Mark Davis being the owner that he is, I think he would be a guy to make that call. But if you're Big Netty, you're sitting there in Indiana and you're like, buddy, when I'm 6 feet under, I'm going to have multiple statues outside of that stadium. Why not just stay where you are? The landscape of college football is the Wild West right now. There's no laws, it's unruly, and he's figured out a way to harness all of it. So why not stay there and take advantage of a beautiful thing that you have right now?
One, I think that's really come down to nowadays lifestyle, what the coach wants from a lifestyle perspective. Two, rules or no rules. The NFL has rules, college football does not. So do you prefer one or the other? And then three, I can tell you that I have asked at least half a dozen coaches that we've had on Monday Night Football that have some attachment to college football. Would you go if the opportunity presented yourself to you to be a head coach at one of the schools in college football? Every single one of them said, couldn't pay me enough
to go back to college because of the nature of it, because you have players in the portal the week of the championship and all this sort of thing.
You'd have to take a shot and also establish yourself at college, too. Like, I get the chaos of it all. But Cignetti, Big Netty, he's establishing what he wants to see with this football team. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, he's kind of already at
Jordan Rodgers,
right now.
Big Netty to the NFL. What do you think?
I absolutely love the idea for the Raiders. Look, Tom Brady is going to be heavy in the coaching decisions, in what quarterback they choose to go with. Cignetti is a Saban disciple. A lot of comparisons between Saban and Belichick, so that would fit. Mendoza, obviously a guy that plays the game like Brady did, winning between the ears, being accurate from the pocket. Curt Cignetti should pick up the phone and politely decline, because it's a terrible idea. If you were going to go to the NFL, you don't want to go to the Raiders. There's probably 4 or 5 teams right now with open head coaching jobs that I would go before because of the roster. And also, as much as you love your quarterback in college, when he doesn't have pieces around him in the NFL, that's not who you want to push all your chips into the middle of the table with year one in the NFL. Cignetti has it rolling at Indiana. He's got Mark Cuban stroking checks. Stay while this kind of Wild West of college football doesn't have rules and you're dominating the portal and you have a chance to build a dynasty. The NFL's built for parity. I just don't love the
It's
jump
actually
for
a different
Cignetti.
discussion for a different day, but I have been thinking, and people have suggested, the Raiders should trade out a #1. They're not ready for a quarterback. Don't take a quarterback #1 right now and bring him into that and put him into a situation in which no one could succeed. Trade out of the pick, build up a roster, do some sort of bridge situation, and then get the quarterback.
I totally
later.
agree. It's the worst roster in football. The only person that you can build around definitively is Brock Bowers. I think they trade Max Crosby. And Mendoza, as great as he's been, is he a quarterback that kind of needs that supporting cast to thrive, or is he one that's going to drag a bad team to success?
This hour in Glendale, Arizona, college football playoff semis will kick off in 10.5 hours and counting. It's Miami and Ole Miss. The Rebels, of course, will be short-staffed. That's head coach Pete Golding, who confirmed that the OC, Charlie Weiss Jr., and the running backs coach, Kevin Smith, will coach in tonight's game. But the tight ends coach and the receivers coach will not. They're off to LSU with Lane Kiffin. It has been coaching chaos. Here's what Golding had to say about it.
To be honest with you, I don't think the players give a damn who runs about the tunnel. Right? Does it make sense? They care about their plan. They care about getting held accountable, right? And how they're going to prepare. And they care about people that care about them, right? And I think that's been the message our players have created. But I don't have to say to anybody else.
Okay, so I've never hit anyone in my entire life, but I would hit someone for that, man.
You going to run through a wall for
I would. I will run through a wall for that guy. I love it.
Got the blood going.
wall.
That's football right there.
But
That's a
here's
football
the part
coach.
where I think I don't agree with what he said, which is to say the players don't care who runs them out of the tunnel. I think in this particular case, and you made the point better than anyone, I think they really do, or maybe to the point they care a lot who doesn't run them out of the tunnel.
The Ole Miss players right now are drunk on proving Lane Kiffin wrong. And that's powerful drug-wise when it comes to athletes. The reality was there was a stretch of time when Lane Kiffin hand-selected each and every one of those athletes. Come to Ole Miss, come play for me. I'm going to sell you this dream of doing something that hasn't been done. We're going to go win a national championship. I'm in, coach. What do you want me to do? I'll get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I'll run till I'll puke. I'll lift till I die, all that stuff. And then the moment happens when Lane Kiffin goes, I'm going to go somewhere else. His decision, I agree with the decision in the big picture. Once that moment happens, he chooses other athletes over those guys, and he becomes the enemy. And I think those players at Ole Miss are galvanized right now, and they're looking at Pete Golding going, that's our guy now. And we're going to go do whatever that guy wants us to do, and we don't need Lane Kiffin. And there's a reality as athletes that once that person says, you're not the guy anymore, or you're not the people we want, it's fuel, it's motivation, and now we have a new target. There's a new enemy, there's a new opposition.
Such a good point, because most of the time, and this is the part of it that isn't Lane Kiffin's fault, most of the time that decision comes after a season is over. So he's basically the players could say, well, he's looking at the school and saying the school isn't good enough to win. But in this particular case, the players can say, he's looking at us. He's literally looking at us and saying we're not good enough to win. And now all of a sudden, they're closer to winning a championship than he's ever been. He's been a head coach for 14 years. And Pate, this could be, I mean, he would get paid for this, right? He's getting bonuses and all that kind of stuff. I don't know historically in the record books how much of this would wind up on his ledger if they win the national championship. This could be the best chance he ever has to win the whole national title, Josh.
Yeah, just don't worry about the history books. I mean, the history books say that Ryan McGee and the guys at ESPN produced a documentary like 10 minutes ago in which Lane Kiffin talked about how at home he felt in Oxford. So I wouldn't worry about the old history book too much. We're writing page 1 of the new history book right now. You pose a very interesting scenario there. I had someone pose it to us on our show the other day, and that was, is he going to regret this? Like, is he throwing away his best chance at a championship? No way to know what the future holds on multiple fronts. I will say this. I do believe in my heart of hearts, Lane Kiffin will have at least one, if not several LSU teams that are capable of doing at least what this Ole Miss team has done. Having said that, what this Ole Miss team is doing right now, there's also no way to know how much this performance level is fueled by what Dan just talked about. Because there's only one way you can inject that into a locker room, and that's by a change like this happening. And as much as those players probably take it personal, as much as those players are playing with a different kind of fuel than maybe you could ever replicate elsewhere in competitive life, dude, imagine Pete Golding. Pete Golding had no idea even a month and a half or 2 months ago that this scenario was going to be dropped in his lap. And then Pete was probably planning on following Lane. I know he had the defensive coordinator offer from Florida on the table. It took Ole Miss saying, no, Pete, we don't want you as the interim. You're our new permanent head coach. Can you imagine being peppered with questions like Pete Golding has been? Like, hey, is the car just going to run off in the ditch now that Lane Kiffin's hands are off the wheel? So I don't know what Ole Miss football will do in the foreseeable future under Pete Golding. I just know there's no way this dynamic that exists right here in this moment will ever exist again, and you need to take advantage of it.
Yeah. I don't think we ever imagined, or Lane Kiffin never imagined this happening. He thought he was going to ride in the sunset. Ole Miss would lose relatively early and not show what they've done in the playoffs, and a bunch of those guys would then go to LSU. Now it's like all these guys have a dartboard, and it's Lane Kiffin's face on it, and there's a bunch of darts right in the middle of that thing. And you look at the teams, the first time Ole Miss played Georgia, Trinidad Chambliss threw for 100 less yards, and Kewan Lacey ran for 60 less yards. Like, they have actually gotten better since Lane Kiffin has left the building. These guys are galvanized, and it's a very refreshing thing to see from Ole Miss with this NIL era where it seems like these players are so focused on money and where's the next bag going to be at. They have kind of reverted back to an our day type of situation. Yeah, like, hey, this isn't about money. This is about the brand. This is about Ole Miss. Yes, and that is a reason why I think all of us are kind of sitting there going, I hope Ole Miss does this.
They become America's team.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's why I said Lane is like the Jerry Jones of college football inadvertently, where it's like, everybody in America, outside of like the fraction of the Indiana fans, which apparently there's way more now than there were 2 years ago, and then but everyone's like, I want Ole Miss to win because of what they've kind of been through, and also I think everyone wants the Ole Miss guys to throw it in Lane's face in a way.
And all of college football is loves this story of Ole Miss because, to your point, the villain of Lane Kiffin, like obviously the calendar, everybody respects that he left, but there's also a process too in which you can pursue your interests without sacrificing your reputation. And not only did he just flip up on this team, like there was like a stabbing in the back. And not only you might turn the page and close the chapter hasn't even been closed. Like he's still meddling and kind of messing with them. Coaches here, let's go back here. They're battling against this Lane Kiffin villain. Everybody's rooting for it. They take down the SEC champion in Georgia, which Lane Kiffin lost to in the regular season. And I feel like this is why everybody loves this Ole Miss story, because it's kind of like a slap in the face to Lane Kiffin, because you know he hates watching this team win.
I'll add to it here, Josh Pate. Lane Kiffin is a fine coach. I've never met him in my entire life, so nothing I'm about to say has anything to do with his personality. The reality is, when LSU got Brian Kelly out of Notre Dame, that was an infinitely bigger coup than this is. People have treated Lane Kiffin, because this was such a crazy coaching cycle, like this is they just got Nick Saban. Or, he hasn't done any of that. He's been a coach 14 years. He's gotten fired in a bunch of different places for not winning. He resurrected this program to the point that it is, that all of a sudden got him this job at LSU. But the truth is, the last time I heard someone was going to LSU because they couldn't win a championship where they were, it was Brian Kelly. They just had to pay him $1 trillion to go away.
Exactly.
His replacement, Marcus Freeman, had Notre Dame in the championship game a year ago. There is an element of be careful what you wish for involved to some of this as well, Pate.
It's funny what the market did. Lane Kiffin's name was number one in the market. It's kind of like when you talk about the NFL draft. You are very quick, and rightfully so, to say not all number one quarterbacks are created equal. There may be 3 of them in the 2023 class better than the top one in 2025. And look, I don't know what Lane will or won't accomplish down there, but to your point, I would just ask those folks who threw the parade, name me Lane Kiffin's biggest win. And you just hold on. You just let it sizzle. You'll hear the birds chirp in the background, because you really don't have that program-defining, that career-defining win. But that's not to say he won't get it. His 5 or 6 or dozen biggest wins may be down the road. But I agreed with you, and I said that all the while. It's a big deal for LSU to get Lane Kiffin. It's not a transcendently, program-altering deal, which it was made out to be.
His biggest win was last week, but he's not there. That's the thing. And the next biggest win would be this weekend, right? And so, that's why this is such an interesting thing. And
This is the best coaching job Lane Kiffin has ever done.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a reality, too. I want to be fair to Lane Kiffin, where, this does shine a little bit of a positive light. He's built this place. He did recruit these guys. And I was sitting here listening to us talk, and I was trying to think of a moment when it felt like the players could dislike the coach that much in college football. Maybe the Brian Kelly Notre Dame moment. I don't remember when Coach Saban left LSU and went to Bama.
No, because it all happens after seasons end.
Mm-hmm. And
that's the problem. These things don't ever happen during the year.
Coach Kelly was right there when they were in the playoffs, but it was such a simple and quick transaction that it just happened. They embraced Freeman just like they did Pete, but it's been a circus around Lane Kiffin, because Lane Kiffin's made it about Lane Kiffin.
And it has never happened before a playoff run before, and many reasons because there's never been a playoff before in college football. The precedent for this, and none of you, I think, are old enough to remember it, is college basketball in 1989 when Bill Frieder and Michigan were going to play in the NCAA tournament, and he decided to take the Arizona State job. But he said, well, I'll coach the team through the tournament before the tournament started. And he said, I'll coach them during the tournament. And Bo Schembechler was the athletic director, and he said, no. A Michigan man is going to coach Michigan. Sure. You get the hell out. Yeah. Steve Fisher came in. They ran off 6 wins and won the national championship. That's the precedent. That's what this is.
I'm telling you, from the athlete's perspective, I promise those young men in the Ole Miss locker room have had the conversation of, what is it going to look like or feel like when we lift the trophy on January 19th and Lane Kiffin's not there? And he has to watch us. He has to watch us on national television lifting it with Pete Golden. There's a pain attached to that from a person in sports that you just can't quantify or try to overcome. And there's a motivation level for those young men that is a very real thing to get that done.
And this is taking place so long. The Lane Kiffin saga of him leaving Ole Miss to LSU, I feel like this has been a year's time of us talking about this, to where Pete Golding's probably sitting in this team meeting be like, we have to literally stuff this in Lane Kiffin's face.
Yeah,
we have to make sure that he feels every single moment of this, because when Lane left, he did the cute trolling, the Twitter, all that, and that was fun. I think we all kind of had that. You sit back, I'm like, this is like a middle-aged Will Compton. I'm really enjoying this type of trolling taking place. No, you're a great troller. And now we get to the situation where Lane is truly feeling the pressure of like, oh my God, what if they do it without me? And that is just adding more and more fuel to the fire.
That's how I'd be.
Yeah.
God, no, this is not how I